Finally, I'm back with a new episode on RC Scrappy. I'm Mark on RC Nerd 74. Today's video is all about testing the new motor I installed on RC Scrappy. This video will include a few test flights with also some little modifications. I will also show you the mods I had to do on RC Scrappy to make the new motor fit. I also changed the spring setup on the suspension and changed some bad screws. So we will have a short look at the modifications, and then we just jump onto the flying field and have a look at the test flights. There were some scary moments also during these flights and takeoffs and landings, but we will see what happened, and I'm really excited to show you the massive power of the new 2280 watts motor which I installed on RC Scrappy. First, let's have a short look at the modifications I did after the maiden flight. The most important step was to make the new Dualsky motor fit. The Dualsky motor is slightly shorter than the stock motor, so I had to install 10mm longer spacers to make the motor fit, and also I had to put on a few thin shims to make the motor fit exactly on the cowling. Then it was time to program the ESC. It's very important to always remove your propeller if you program an ESC, just to avoid any injuries. The recommended settings from the factory were to set the timing, the motor timing, to 22 degrees. And the second setting was the PWM frequency, which is set to 8 kHz, which is surprisingly low, but I did this programming by the transmitter, and we will see during the test flights if these settings will actually work. Then I also had to change some screws. Some of the screws on the landing gear were already pretty rusty, so they were bad quality, so I decided to go for stainless steel screws, which actually also look way better, and there will be no more rust on the landing gear screws. Then it was time to set up RC Scrappy for more test flights. I was really excited about the new power I had on the 2280 watts Dualsky Outrunner motor. I think the behavior of RC Scrappy will change massive. Then I also did a rudder check, as I do before every flight, just to make sure that everything runs as it should. Then I also did a short pull test. It's very important to check if the motor really pulls as it should and there is no strange noises and the motor really runs smooth. And then it was time for the first takeoff with the new motor. And as you can see on the first pictures, it actually pulled massively to the left. First I thought it's only about crosswinds. I already had again some crosswinds from downside, from the lower valley. But during the flight I figured out that the plane is always pulled to the left, no matter if you're at midair, and if you increase throttle. As soon as I increase throttle, the RC Scrappy pulled to the left. So it looks like the position of the motor is not right, so the nose has to look more to the right. I have to change the motor angle. So that was the first test flight, and I was pretty happy about the power of the motor, but I didn't focus on the actual power of the motor on the very first flight, but just on the behavior, and it didn't feel really great because of the massive pulling to the left side. Then it was time for the second flight. The takeoff was a little better. Then I also tried how strong the motor can pull RC Scrappy, and I was really surprised that on different tests I really was able to pull up Scrappy perfectly vertical Also super easy to make some nice loops. So I'm really looking forward to do some aerobatics with RC Scrappy. We will see how the behavior is during different aerobatic maneuvers, but it was way more fun. I felt pretty good, but the second landing was really nasty one, and yeah, the issue on this landing was that I squeezed the springs of the landing gear. That was a problem I had to solve for the next flights. Then, as you could see, there was a hairy takeoff, and I didn't figure out quickly what it was, but during the test flights I realized that RC Scrappy is extremely twitchy on the rudder, so I really had to do some expo on the rudder, and yeah, that was really a bad behavior he had. I have no idea why he's so twitchy on rudder. All my other planes I had so far never had such a behavior on rudder. Then on one landing I went to the deep grass, but as you can see there is so much power, and the big Alaskan bush wheels can pull RC Scrappy pretty easy out of the deep grass. So it's really great to see the behavior of RC Scrappy, which works pretty well. Here you can see the squeezed spring, and I tried to replace the springs with hard rubber balls, but these were too soft. There was no chance to make this work because the rubber balls were too much squeezed. So I decided to fill up the gap with some spacers, and then I also changed the motor angle to avoid this pulling to the left. And as you can see, that looks pretty nasty, but that's just for testing. And then it was time for the second day of test flights. First takeoff wasn't that great too, but I actually felt a massive difference. The pulling to the left was way less, it was much better, and yeah, like this, flying RC Scrappy was way more fun already. And I was also able to do more testing on the torque of RC Scrappy, and I was really happy. Then I also figured out how to easily land RC Scrappy, and a few last landings went better and better. I also understood how slow you actually can land RC Scrappy even without using flaps. I also tried the landing lights. I was afraid that these LEDs will get extremely hot. It worked pretty well. The LEDs were totally cool, so I even can increase the voltage of the LEDs for the next test flights. I really like RC Scrappy, and I'm looking forward to new setups I try. On the next test flight videos I will also try the transforming wing, and there will be more fine-tuning, also to set the motor on the perfect position. I have to modify the motor mount to make everything look nice and clean again. This is it about today's video. I'm really happy so far with the progress on RC Scrappy. There is some little fine-tuning still needed on the mount to make all the installation of the new motor look absolutely perfect, and more flight footage will follow for sure. Night flights and aerobatic flights. I will also test how much aerobatics RC Scrappy can handle. So I'm really excited to come up with more RC Scrappy stuff. So thanks a lot for watching. Thank you for following me along. See you in the next one. Happy flying. Bye bye.